on all of our international travels. He'd be the one up reading his briefing book while the rest of us would be passed out sleeping. First one up, first one off the plane, first one into a meeting. That's just who he is.
Tell me about his sense of humor.
There are people who are really great at funny stories, and I don't see John as a storyteller as much as I am a one-liner and just
quick wit.
A quick wit, yeah, exactly.
He loves to laugh. He loves humor. A little-known fact about John McCain: if you just give him the slightest provocation, he will go into a series of one-liners by the late great comedian Henny Youngman.
Really?
Oh my goodness! And laughing all the way.
And that connected you guys.
I think that connected us. We both like to laugh.
He really does love literature.
Oh my gosh. We've traveled the globe 100 times probably. And I think he would jump out of the plane if he didn't have a book.
Mostly fiction or nonfiction?
History.
Or both?
History. He can tell you about every Knight Templar, and I can tell you about every Knight Templar because he's told me about them.
He reads history. You wouldn't be surprised at that. He reads fiction too, and he has certain favorite books of fiction, like Hemingway's.
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Oh, there you go. He goes back to that all the time.
What do his favorite authors tell you about John McCain?
That he really believes in the romantic ideal of fighting for one's belief, even if you know you're going to fail.
He's really obsessed with figures larger than life.
Yes.
Teddy Roosevelt, Robert Jordan, you know, his father.
What's the central thread with all the people you just named? It's either their honor or their struggle with honor. I think that's the central thread, and that's the common thread I see with John every day. It's that constant search for honor.
He sees these giants of the past as people he himself would like to aspire to, and there's a certain amount of Teddy Roosevelt and John McCain. Somebody who really can invoke an inspiration when you watch him from a distance, and you know, that's what I think he's aspired to be for a long time, and to a certain extent he's achieved it.
He once referred to a guy working for me by an expletive, and I said to the guy working for me, "You've made it. If John's calling you by a swear word, you're in the inner circle."
He has a temper. It's quick, but he doesn't hold grudges that I've seen.
Once we were in New Hampshire, he had really lit me up. And so I thought, well, I'm just not even going to get near him. And at the end of the day, this was like first thing in the morning, at the end of the day, he walks over with 2 ice cream cones.
Peace offering?
Peace offering, and offers me an ice cream cone, and we move on. And he, you know, he writes apology notes, or he's famous for those. Oh yeah, he doesn't hold grudges. He's a man, remarkably, who looks forward, not backward.
Maverick, ideologue, temperamental. There's so many words that have been used to describe John McCain. What would you use?
I would use committed, faithful. I would use fun, institutionalist. I'd use hero.
And a point of personal privilege, as they say in the U.S. Senate, I want to say thank you, John McCain. Thank you for teaching reporters like me who followed you around for a living how to be serious without taking ourselves too seriously, how to respect the political process as meaningful and not mean, and how to walk really fast in the Capitol hallways, which was the only way to do it when I had to keep up with you. And up next is State of the Union with Jake Tapper. He will be remembering John McCain with some of his colleagues, including Arizona colleague.
Hero John Sidney McCain III, his remarkable life coming to an end at 81 years old after being diagnosed with brain cancer last year. Facing such adversities with courage was his trademark, whether it was enduring repeated torture at the hands of the North Vietnamese for more than 5 years, or during grinding political campaigns, or the early morning thumbs down that turned his own party on its head. McCain was a case study in resilience to the very end. His daughter, Meghan McCain, who was at the senator's side when he died, recently wrote, quote, "All that I am is thanks to him. Now that he is gone, the task of my lifetime is to live up to his example, his expectations, and his love." The measure of this man not only displayed by the tributes and kind words and prayers from his political allies, but from his former adversaries, his death coming 9 years to the day that his good friend, Democratic Senator Edward Kennedy, died from the same disease. About a year ago, in one of his final network interviews, already facing this grim diagnosis, I asked the senator how he wanted to be remembered. How do you want the American people to remember you?
He served his country, and not always right. Made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of errors, but served his country, and I hope we could add honorably.
I think that we can say honorably. Joining us now to reflect on the life and legacy of Senator McCain is his fellow Republican and now senior senator from Arizona, Jeff Flake. Senator, thanks so much for joining us in this horrible weekend. You've had a close relationship with your fellow Arizona senator. Did you get a chance to say goodbye to him?
I did. I was privileged to be there the day before he passed, to be there with the family, and I was so glad that I was able to be there. Did you get to say anything, or was he not in a condition to receive visitors? You know, the entire family was gathered around. The door was open, Oak Creek just dribbling by. It was just an incredible, wonderful scene to see the family and to see him and to express my appreciation to them and to him. So I was just privileged to be there. I want to show you this headline from the Washington Post editorial board this meeting. The editorial board titles their tribute to the senator, John McCain, the irreplaceable American, and they write, Mr. McCain on numerous occasions rose above party politics to pursue what he honestly saw as a national interest, and he accomplished a great deal. The country has lost an irreplaceable asset. What do you think the loss of Senator McCain will mean for the Senate and for the U.S.? Well, his voice was important, has been for years, but never more important than the past year. And that's one thing I expressed to the family, the gratitude of all of us, that they took such good care of John and made sure that he was able to speak, you know, in these last few months when it was so important. So it's tough to have a voice like that silenced, but this voice for civility, to put you know, the country above your party. These are things that he taught for years, and never more important than the last year. His life, his entire life really, was devoted to serving the United States, including enduring more than 5 years of confinement and torture in a North Vietnamese prisoner of war camp. He suffered injuries that he felt literally for the rest of his life. Here's what he said in his speech to the American Red Cross in 1999, quote, "War is wretched beyond description, and only a fool or a fraud could sentimentalize its cruel reality." How did you see his experience in Vietnam in terms of how it shaped his character and how it shaped the way he lived his life? Well, he said many times that he grew to appreciate his country when he was serving time in another country. And he didn't fully appreciate what he had until he served as a prisoner of war. I do think that left an indelible mark. He could have come home and retired right after that and have served the country so honorably. But we were fortunate to have another 30 or so years where he told us, taught us to put the country above yourself, to serve a cause greater than yourself. And that, I think, came from his experience in Vietnam, and certainly came from what he saw, were the tragedies of war. But he was a lover of freedom, and he wanted to spread that, and was an advocate to the end of strong American leadership, and never apologizing for America and its values. That's something that he leaves with us. He was often unpredictable. Let's just show that moment from last summer where Senator McCain entered the Senate chamber late at night and cast the deciding vote to kill a bill to repeal and replace Obamacare. That's a plan you voted the other way on. You talked to him on the Senate floor right before that vote. What was that conversation like? Well, yes, I did. And John McCain is quintessentially Arizonan. He's a maverick. He's independent. I didn't vote the same way he did, but I admired him for doing what he did. And it was John through and through. As he spoke to the Senate at that time, talked about how we needed to come together and not do things in just a partisan way, That was his biggest issue with that approach that we were taking, that it wasn't a bipartisan approach. He recognized, and he was a huge institutionalist and loved the Senate because the Senate forces individuals and parties to come together. And he wasn't seeing that, and we haven't been that kind of institution for a while. So I understood certainly why he voted the way he did, and I admired him for it.
You've been very outspoken about the direction of the Republican Party and, in your view, the failures of President Trump. How much did Senator McCain play any sort of role or influence you in any way in the position you've taken?
Well, I've admired John McCain my entire life. I haven't known Washington or politics without him, so he's left an indelible mark. And just putting the good of the country above your own self-interest, I think that was his mantra. And whether it's his approach to the current administration or his approach in general, I think that's something I've certainly learned from him, and we could all learn in these days. And seeing the good in your opponents, the fact that George W. Bush will be speaking at his funeral, or that he was asked to, the person that defeated him, also Barack Obama, that says all that we need to know about John McCain, that his opponents love, admire, and respect him. That's something that we could all strive for.
Notably absent from the funeral, of course, will be President Trump, who will not be invited per Senator McCain's wishes. President Trump denigrated McCain, denigrated his war heroism. Do you think that there's something about the character of Senator